Jeff, let's talk about it, man. WrestleMania, big week for wrestling fans, whether you're an AEW fan, a WWE fan, a AAA fan, a CMLA fan, whatever. Everybody talks about WrestleMania this time of year, and we're talking about WrestleMania from 25 years ago. And as luck would have it, and as we come into 1999, you and Owen Hart become a tag team. How do you guys get paired together originally, as best you can recall?
You know, that is actually, I wish I had like the aha moment or, excuse me, how it all came together. But you really have to go back. Context is king. When I'll just call it the attitude era got rolling, and the programming of Raw, or Raw and Nitro, especially Raw, they had, we'll call it the Austin thread, and then for a while it was the Austin thread and the DX thread, but a lot of times it was the Austin McMahon thread, and then a lot of, I don't want to say just shock TV, but as we get into this episode, and you'll kind of shout out some match times. It was really the first time. I can't say the first time, but enhancement matches would go 2 or 3 minutes. But when you ever put a competitive match on TV, for the most part, and I know Nitro was doing maybe 7 or 8 minute matches for competitive, but man, these segments were so quick, and there was so much turnover, and there were the outlandish characters. We're going to talk about Public Enemy today. We're going to talk about, I mean, we're right in the, Conrad, you know this better than I do, but wouldn't you say 98 was just the apex of the Attitude Era? As far as it, just a rocket, everything was going on. There were so many different things going on, and it just kind of how the dominoes fell, that I was having a singles career and coming out of the Robert Fuller set of circumstances, the Aztec Indian, and Owen, kind of the same thing. He had been paired and different things, and all of a sudden they had an idea to put us together. And me and Owen, I do remember we were both like, hell yeah, this will be fantastic. Let's go for it. And it just kind of fell into place, but there wasn't any grand master plan at all.
You guys eventually get put together as a tag team here. How was he feeling about being in a tag team? I mean, I know once upon a time he's had a few different tag team iterations. I mean, great run with Bulldog. Once upon a time, even with Coco Beware. He had spent more time as a tag team wrestler than probably you had.
Oh yeah.
Did you enjoy working as a tag? I mean, did Owen enjoy tagging with you? Just talk to me about your tag team experience, because this is really, and I know we talked about before, when you were in Memphis with your boy Travis and all that. But in the big time in the WWF, you hadn't really been a tag team wrestler.
I'd
Talk to
never
me
been
about
a tag team wrestler that you would. I was never a tag team wrestler. And Owen, yes, he was teamed with Coco and Bulldog, but they were basically two singles coming together. It was never like a Marty and Shawn or the Bushwhackers, and just we could come up with all kinds of tag teams. Me and Owen were, without question, two singles guys coming together with our own identity and everything that went with it. But we, like you said, I had been in all kinds of tags and six mans my whole career, but I had never worked as a tag team. And when the idea came about, and me and Owen kind of looked at the roster top to bottom and looked at the teams, and we knew DX was right at the top, and there was multiple other teams. There were also some youth coming up. The Hardys had transitioned into, they were, I don't know exactly what year, but they were certainly full time, and the Brood was coming along. Anyway, there was a lot of tag teams being developed, and me and Owen knew that from the heel side of things, there was going to be a lot of opportunity, and it just, for lack of a better word, we knew before we got together that it would click.
It's one of those tag teams that I think sometimes people forget about, because there was so much happening in this era, and it's not like it was a tag team that lasted for years or anything like that. But I would have loved to have seen what you guys could do together because I thought you complemented each other really, really well. Was there something that took getting used to that you wouldn't have expected when you're trying to transition from being singles to a tag? Like just as far as the way you put together a match and the way you work it and all that stuff. Because you had really been just driving the lane as a singles wrestler for so long. Was there an adjustment period for you?
So I don't want to call it adjustment, but I think both of us went into it. I'll say certainly I did. No, we both did, because during this time frame, you knew right up front nothing lasted forever. So down to the gear, all right, do we get like really matching gear, and do we come up
Yes.
with a name? Do we make that transition, or do we keep two singles? And Russo and Ferrara, and the agents, nobody had any of those answers. It was all, at the end of the day, what Vince wanted to do, and we knew that could change at any minute, at any time. And also, the realities of injuries and pivots and everything that went with it. So we didn't know how long it was going to last. That was probably the most uncertainty. I will say this up at the top of this episode: as I look on it today in 2024, knowing that, his passing, this is January when we got put together. He passed away, very unfortunately, in May, just 5 months later. Had not the accident not have happened, I could definitely see a scenario where we would have become tags, and then not really split up, gone into singles and come back as tags. Also think ultimately there would have been the right story and the right program where we would have split up as a team. And I think I would have been the heel, obviously, and Owen the babyface. And I think an Owen Jeff singles storyline would have been very intriguing. We just had natural chemistry, both second generation wrestlers. Jim Ross and others always would commentate, as much as they or were allowed to. It's one of those things that it wrote itself. And I think that's why, I was so fired up to do this episode, because when I look back on my career, Conrad, these 5 months, and yes, the business was red hot, selling out everywhere, fun in the ring, fun on the road. It was a real highlight of my career from a personal point of view, that, coming out of just a crappy situation, and I guess you could say getting things back on track in my career. It was I was having a blast and definitely working my butt off.